The signal. No one believed Kayla sat alone in the radar room of the Xenon outpost. The large glass window showed the stars, distant and cold. The room was quiet, filled only with the soft beeping of machines. She had worked here for 2 years, scanning space for incoming ships, meteor storms, or unknown threats. Nothing interesting ever happened here. She yawned and leaned back in her chair. Another boring night shift, she thought. But then, beep. A red dot blinked on the edge of her screen. She blinked twice and leaned forward. She had never seen that kind of signal before. Strange, she whispered to herself. She touched the screen and zoomed in. The object was moving slowly, hiding behind one of the dead moons of planet Kelnar. It wasn't a Xenon ship. It wasn't from any known race. Its energy signature was strange, very old. She clicked on the data logs. The ship ID popped up on her screen. UNSC vessel, class destroyer, status, unknown species. Human. Kayla's heart stopped. Human, she said out loud. No, that wasn't possible. Humans were only stories told to younglings. Monsters from old war legends. Some said they were the creators of terror weapons. Others claimed they burned their own planet to ashes and vanished. But no one had seen a human in over 300 years. Must be an error, she told herself. She tried to run the signal again. Same result. Human, UNSC, active status. Kayla felt cold. She looked around the room. No one else was there. Her hand trembled slightly as she reached for the comm system. Command, this is Kayla from Radar Station 6, she said. A bored voice replied, Yes, Kayla. Another ghost signal again? No, sir. I think I detected a human ship, she said. The line went silent for a few seconds. Then laughter. Humans? Are you serious? What next, space dragons? I'm not joking, sir. It's a UNSC vessel. Signal is real. I have it on my screen. Dismissed, Kayla. Focus on your shift. Stop wasting our time with children's stories. The line went dead. Kayla sat still, staring at the blinking red dot. Her people didn't believe her, but she couldn't ignore it. She had to see it for herself. She looked at the door. Should she leave her post? It was against orders. But her curiosity burned like fire inside her chest. She made her decision. Kayla locked the radar logs and downloaded the signal data to her personal tablet. Then she quietly left the radar room and made her way to the hangar bay. Her small scout pod, the Shadow Glide, was ready. It was fast, silent, and perfect for sneaking into deep space. Kayla launched the pod, keeping radio silence. No one noticed. Her departure. She followed the coordinates of the signal toward the dead moon. As she got closer, her screen picked up more details. The ship was large, old, battle-worn, but still powered. Strange metal panels, faded symbols, and human letters were visible on the hull. She slowed the pod and activated stealth mode. Now the ship came fully into view. It was real, floating silently like a ghost from the past. Kayla stared with wide eyes. Her hands gripped the controls tightly. She didn't believe in myths, not before. But now, she was facing one. Suddenly, her screen flashed red. Warning. You are being scanned. UNSC AI system activated. Identity detected. Non-human. Observation mode on. Her heart raced. The human ship. It was scanning her, and it was still working. She didn't know whether to run or keep watching. Then her screen showed something else. Life form detected. Human. Status. Cryosleep location. Deep core sectiona. Human was still alive inside. Kayla gasped. Her whole body felt cold. A real human. Sleeping inside that ship? After 300 years? No one will believe me, she whispered. But she knew one thing now for sure. Humans were not just stories. They were real. And one of them was waking up. The ghost ship in orbit. Kayla's hands trembled as she guided her pod closer to the strange ship. The cold silence of space surrounded her. Stars shimmered in the distance, but her eyes were locked on the dark shape ahead. It was huge. Much bigger than she expected. The surface was worn with deep burns and broken panels, but it still floated, like a beast that refused to die. The pod's sensors tried to scan the ship, but strange interference blocked the data. It was as if the ship didn't want to be known. Kayla whispered, "Are you hiding from us? Or from something else?" As she got closer, her pod suddenly shook. A powerful wave of energy passed through it. UNSC ship response. Passive defense. Activated. Warning. Approach slowly. The message was not in her language. It was in ancient galactic standard, an old dialect her people no longer used. But Kayla understood it. She had studied old languages in secret. No one else cared about the past. "It's really speaking to me," she said softly. Lights flickered along the ship's side. One of the docking bays slowly opened. On its own. Kayla hesitated. Was this a trap? But her heart told her something different. She took a deep breath and pushed the pod forward. It entered the docking bay, and the doors closed behind her. Darkness surrounded the pod until soft lights lit up the hangar. Inside, everything looked ancient. Broken crates, metal tools scattered, symbols on the wall she'd only seen in history books. The air was stale, but breathable. Kayla stepped out, carefully. Her boots echoed softly against the metal floor. "This place is a tomb," she whispered. Suddenly, a strange clicking sound echoed through the hall. She spun around. Nothing. Her hand moved toward her stun blaster. She took a few, careful steps deeper into the ship. Then, a screen on the wall flickered on. It showed a symbol, a circle with wings. Below it, one word appeared in glowing letters. "Eagle." A voice followed, crackly, deep, and slow. It was a recording. "If you're seeing this, then we've lost. This is Captain Elias Stone of the UNSC Raven. We were ambushed by unknown fleets during a classified mission. Crew is gone, AI failing. I'm entering cryosleep. If anyone finds me, remember humans." The voice cut off. Kayla stared at the screen, her eyes wide. Captain Elias Stone. She repeated the name. She followed the hallway toward where the AI indicated. Every step felt heavy, like walking through time. Suddenly, her wrist device lit up with a blinking signal. Lifeform detected, cryopod active. Her heart raced. She reached a large door, half closed with sparks flickering around it. She crawled through and entered a room filled with tall cryopods. Most were empty, broken, dead. But one was glowing. Frost covered the glass. Inside, a male figure rested. His face was pale but peaceful. His chest rose and fell slowly. A living human. Kayla placed her hand on the glass. "You really exist," she whispered. But before she could react further, she heard something move behind her, a soft metal scrape. She turned quickly but saw nothing. "Who's there?" she called out, voice shaking. Another sound, this time closer. Something was in the shadows, watching. Her hand grabbed her weapon. The pod beeped. The lights on the human's pod turned red. His vitals changed. Cryo exit sequence started. "No!" Kayla gasped. "It's waking him up." She stepped back. The pod hissed. Steam burst out. The human inside shifted. His eyes slowly opened, and Kayla came face to face with the creature from her people's oldest nightmare. Yet, his eyes were not cruel. They looked tired. Then he spoke, not in her language, but in the same old dialect from the ship. "Where am I?" Myth becomes flesh. Kayla froze. The human was staring at her, his eyes barely open, his face pale and dry, his lips cracked. The cryopod was still releasing steam. The air in the room felt colder now, even though the ship's systems were warming up. She had imagined many things: anger, fear, violence, but not this, not weakness. The human blinked slowly. His body trembled inside the pod. You, not Xenon, he whispered in the old language. Kayla stepped back, still gripping her stun weapon. Her hand was shaking. You're alive, she said. You're really human. The man looked confused, then closed his eyes for a moment before whispering, again. How long? Was I out? Kayla swallowed. Maybe 300 years? The words hung heavy in the air. The human's eyes opened wide in shock. His body moved, weak but determined. With great effort, he pushed open the pod and took one shaky step forward. Kayla instinctively stepped back. I won't hurt you, he said, raising both hands. I don't even think I can. His voice was deep but weak, like an ancient wind barely blowing across a dead world. Kayla stared at him. Your name is Elias Stone? The man nodded slowly. I heard your message. You said, remember, humans. Kayla's voice was quiet. Elias leaned against the cryopod, taking deep breaths. Is that what we are now? He said. Just memories? Kayla hesitated. No one believes in you anymore. You're called myths. Some say monsters. Others say ghosts of war. Elias gave a bitter smile. All of them. Probably true. Suddenly the ship's lights flickered. A loud metallic clang echoed from deep within the ship. Both turned their heads. Kayla whispered, There's something else here, isn't there? Elias looked serious now. Yeah. I wasn't the only one who went into cryo-sleep. There was another. Kayla's stomach turned. Another human? Elias shook his head. No, worse. He pressed a button on the wall and a display lit up, showing a 3D map of the ship. One red blinking dot was moving through the halls. Biosignature. Unknown. Hostile. Elias muttered. It woke up. Because I did. Kayla felt the cold return. We need to leave. I agree, Elias said. But I can't fly in this condition. Kayla nodded. I have a pod in the docking bay. I'll help you get there. Elias gave a half smile. First alien I've ever met. And she's saving me. What kind of galaxy did I wake up in? Kayla looked at him, her voice soft. One that forgot who you were. As they moved slowly toward the door, the lights flickered again. The red dot on the screen was getting closer. Kayla could feel her heartbeat in her ears. Whatever was hunting them, it was fast. Suddenly, a door behind them slammed open. A shape moved in the shadows. Kayla fired her stun weapon, but it only sparked against the wall. Elias grabbed her arm. Go! They ran down the hallway. Elias barely able to keep up, his body still weak from sleep. Kayla helped him, her mind racing. She had come to see a ghost but found a man who might be the key to forgotten truths. They turned into a lift chamber, sealed the door, and Kayla smashed the button. As they rose toward the docking bay, Elias looked at her. You're Zealand, right? She nodded. My people fought yours once. Long ago, he said. I know, Kayla replied. But that was before I was born. And before you slept. The lift stopped. They stepped out into the docking bay. Her pod, Shadow Glide, sat in the middle. Suddenly a loud crash echoed behind them. The hallway shook. The creature had arrived. Kayla pushed Elias inside the pod. She turned and fired one last shot down the hall. Then she jumped in and sealed the door. As the pod detached and shot away from the ghost ship, Kayla looked out the window. The ancient human vessel shrank behind them and still floating, still waiting in the dark. Elias leaned back in the seat beside her. What now? He asked. Kayla looked ahead at the stars. Now, we find out if the galaxy is ready for humans to return. The survivor speaks. The small pod flew quietly through deep space, like a pebble lost in the ocean of stars. Inside, Kayla checked the ship's controls while glancing at Elias. The human sat silently, his eyes staring forward but lost in memories. His body was still weak and his clothes were worn and cracked with time, but there was something strong in his presence, something old and unbroken. She had brought back a ghost, but he was no spirit. He was a warrior. Kayla finally spoke. "You should rest. Your body is still recovering." Elias shook his head slowly. "I've slept long enough." A short silence passed between them. Then he turned toward her, voice calm but heavy. "What year is it, Galactic Standard?" Kayla checked her screen. "Year 7137. Elias leaned back. 7,000. We went under in the 6800s. That means..." He did the math in his head. "I've been asleep over 3 centuries. Kayla nodded slowly. "Your kind disappeared in that time. There are no humans left. At least, none that we've seen." He rubbed his face. "Typical. We fight, vanish, and become myths. Tell me, what do they say about humans now?" Kayla hesitated. "Stories. Some say your people were monsters. Others say you were gods. My people teach that you destroyed your own worlds. You became too dangerous. Too wild." Elias smiled bitterly. "Maybe all of that is true. But I don't think so anymore," she said softly. "Not after meeting you." He looked surprised. "You risked everything to help me." "Why?" Kayla sighed. "Because I've always believed in what others don't. I study old languages, old tech, and old stories. When I saw your ship, I knew it was real. And when they laughed at me, I still knew I had to see it myself." He studied her for a moment. "You have a rebel's heart." She gave a small smile. "Maybe. Or maybe I'm just tired of being told what to believe." Suddenly, a warning beep echoed through the pod. Kayla looked at the screen. "Incoming transmission. Priority alert. To all Xenon patrols, a rogue scout ship has been stolen. Suspect Kayla of Outpost 6. Possible contact with forbidden tech. Intercept immediately." Her blood ran cold. "They know I left," she whispered. Elias frowned. "They'll try to stop you." "They'll try to kill you," she corrected. Elias sat forward. "Then we can't go back." Kayla thought fast. "I know a place. A dead zone, once used for testing weapons long ago. No patrols go there now. If we hide the pod, maybe we can survive long enough to make a plan." Elias nodded. "Lead the way." She turned the pod sharply, entering new coordinates. The stars shifted around them as they dropped into a quiet region of space, filled with broken satellites and drifting wreckage. As the pod floated into the silent graveyard, Elias stood and moved carefully toward the control panel. He placed a hand on the console and stared at the alien symbols. "This tech, it's all grown from our leftovers," he said. "I can still read it." Kayla watched him. "Your people helped build the early galaxy, didn't they?" "We tried," Elias said. "We shared, we fought, we burned, and we vanished. That's the human cycle. Always too much heart, never enough control." Kayla lowered her voice. "But you're here now, and they won't know what to do with you." Elias turned toward her. "Maybe we can change that." Suddenly the pod's light dimmed. A soft voice echoed through the speaker. "Unknown vessel detected. You are trespassing in restricted space. Power down or face destruction." Kayla's screen lit up. 2 Zealand battlecruisers were approaching fast. She gasped. "They followed us." Elias's eyes narrowed. "I have an idea." Kayla looked at him. "What?" Elias moved to the emergency. Corin ripped off the access panel. "Old trick. We let them think we're dead. Overload the core and eject it, they'll chase the explosion." "That's risky," Kayla said. "Do you trust me?" he asked. She paused, then nodded. He gave her a tired smile. "Then let's make history lie again." They worked fast. Elias rerouted the engine signals. Kayla angled the ship behind a wrecked station. Seconds later, the core launched out the back and burst into flames. The 2 enemy ships turned toward. The explosion immediately, Elias whispered. They'll think we died in the blast. Kayla checked the scanner. It's working. They're leaving the area. The pod floated quietly among the wreckage, cold and hidden. In that silence, Elias sat down beside Kayla. You gave me life again, he said. She looked at him. You gave me proof, she answered. A deal between enemies. The pod floated in silence among shattered satellites and forgotten war machines. Kayla stared out the window. The fireball from their ejected core still glowed in the distance. Their fake death had fooled the patrols. For now. She finally turned to Elias. We bought time, but not much. The human was sitting cross-legged on the cold floor, staring at the wall. He wasn't resting, he was thinking, planning. They'll search again, he said. And next time they'll bring bigger eyes. Kayla nodded. We can't keep hiding. Elias looked at her. Then we need allies. She frowned. You don't have any. You're the last human. Maybe, he said. But myths have power. You said it yourself. Some think we were monsters, others think we were gods. Kayla tilted her head. You want to use your legend? I want to give them a reason to doubt everything they think is true. Kayla leaned against the console. You speak like a soldier. I was, he said quietly. But I wasn't, just a fighter. I was a diplomat once too. I negotiated peace with the Tharkai before they vanished. I learned how your people think. Kayla narrowed her eyes. And what do you think of mine? Elias didn't answer right away. He looked at her with a thoughtful expression, I think. Your people are like we once were. Strong. Proud. But too afraid of change. She looked away. They fear the past. Fear you. Then let's give them a future to fear instead. Kayla turned back to him. You want me to betray my kind, help you escape. I'm not asking you to betray them, Elias said. I'm asking you to open their eyes. Her face was cold, quiet. Then she asked, and if they won't listen? Then we survive. Together, and we make our own path. Silence. Then Kayla extended her hand. I'll help you. Elias took it, strong but gentle. A deal. Between former enemies. Later, in the pod's storage bay, Kayla handed Elias a dark silver uniform, her spare Xelon pilot suit. It was too tight in some places, too loose in others, but better than his cracked armor. You'll pass for a low class. Xelan, if you keep the helmet on, she said. He nodded. You think you can get us inside a command station? Kayla replied. If we land in Sector 12, I can say I'm bringing recovered data from ancient tech. They'll be curious. And while they stare at your fake files, you sneak into the deep archives. Find proof of the human past, something they can't deny. Elias smiled. You really have the mind of a rebel. Kayla smiled back. You really have the heart of a survivor. As they neared the outer edge of Sector 12, the stars grew brighter. Civilization returned. Ships moved in neat paths. Patrols scanned the skies. No one suspected a tiny pod carried the last human in the galaxy. They landed on a lower platform of an old research outpost. Kayla stepped out confidently, helmet in hand, and handed over a data crystal. Recovered this from a drifting ruin, she told the officer. The alien officer raised an eyebrow. From which sector? Classified. I need direct access to the archives. The officer scanned her crystal. Strange signature, very old, you have half an hour. Understood. Kayla walked quickly through the halls, Elias trailing behind in disguise. No one paid attention. The archives were buried deep. Cold chambers, filled with glowing tablets, broken machines, and old data towers. Elias stopped at a sealed vault. This symbol, he said. UNSC archive lock. I know this code. He placed his hand on the panel. It glowed green. The vault opened. Kayla stepped inside with him. Inside were hollows of ancient battles, blueprints of human tech, even maps of Earth, long forgotten. This is it, she whispered. Elias picked up a recording device. A video blinked to life, showing humans and Xelans. fighting together. We're allies once, Kayla said softly. They erase this. Elias nodded. We bring this to light. We don't just prove I exist. We prove your people once fought beside us. Suddenly, a red alarm blinked in the archive chamber. Unauthorized access detected. Lockdown in 60 seconds. Kayla grabbed the hollow drive. Run! They sprinted back down the corridor. Guards were already moving. One shouted, Freeze! Kayla fired her stun blast into the ceiling. Smoke burst out. Elias covered her as they reached the pod. They took off just as the station locked down. As they jumped back into deep space, Kayla held the hollow drive tight in her hand. We have the truth, she said. Elias looked at her with quiet pride. Now let's show the galaxy. Chased through the stars, the stolen pod ripped through space, leaving behind the burning exhaust of a narrow escape. Inside, Kayla held the holodrive like it was sacred. It contained ancient footage, proof that humans and Xelans once stood side by side. Proof that her people had lied for generations. Elias sat beside her, face serious. You just made yourself the most wanted pilot in the Xelan Empire. Kayla gave a dry laugh. And you were already the most dangerous myth. Elias checked the nav system. They're following fast. Kayla looked at the radar. Multiple red dots closing in. They're throwing everything at us, she whispered. Not just patrols. Those are elite hunters. Elias's jaw tightened. They know what you stole. The ship shook as laser fire grazed the wing. Elias jumped to the controls. We're not going to outrun them forever. Kayla adjusted course. I'm not running, I'm leading them somewhere. Elias turned to her. Where? A place even Xelans don't go anymore. The Black Cradle. His eyes widened. That's a graveyard. Kayla nodded. Exactly. Dead ships, broken codes, and electromagnetic storms. If we hide there, they can't scan us. The pod dove hard toward a dark cloud in space. Swirling purple lightning lit the edges. Behind them, the Xelan ships fired again. One blast hit their tail. The lights flickered. The pod spun. Stabilizers offline, Elias shouted. Kayla gritted her teeth. Hold on. The pod spun straight into the Black Cradle. Inside the cloud, everything went quiet. Outside, twisted shipwrecks floated like ancient skeletons. Debris blocked radar. Static filled the comms. The stars vanished behind a curtain of chaos. We're blind now, Elias said. Kayla nodded. Good. So are they. They floated through the graveyard slowly. A broken battleship passed by, its hull marked with the old human symbol, the eagle. This place, Elias whispered, was once a battlefield. Kayla's eyes were wide. There are human ships here? Elias reached out to the wall of their pod. I can feel it. This was our last stand. Right here. Suddenly a voice broke through the static. Kayla of Outpost 6. This is High Command. Power down and surrender. You are protecting a war criminal. You will be destroyed. Kayla stared at the speaker. They called you a criminal, she said quietly. Elias looked at her. Because the truth is dangerous. Kayla stood. Then let's give them a warning. They floated close to an old Xelan warship. Dead, silent, forgotten. Kayla accessed its interface from the pod. It still has power in the core, she whispered. Elias grinned. Can we wake it up? Kayla tapped keys, her fingers moving fast. Not all systems, but maybe just enough to speak. She rerouted the pod's display to the warship's main antenna. Then she played the video from the holodrive. In space, the broken warship's old screen flickered to life, and across the Black Cradle, on every nearby Xelan ship, the image broadcasted, a human and a Xelan, shoulder to shoulder. Fighting, saving, building, peace treaties, celebrations, smiles, shared loss, shared hope. The final line was in both languages. We were never enemies. We were brothers. The chasing fleet paused. Kayla's comm crackled again. What? Is this footage? Where did you get this? Kayla replied, voice clear. From the archives you buried. The lies are ending. The galaxy deserves the truth. Silence followed. Then, more ships started arriving. Kayla checked the signal. Not Xelon, multiple species. Elias leaned forward. That message, it wasn't just received by the fleet. It went to everyone. The fleet didn't shoot. They just watched. For the first time in centuries, the story of humanity was no longer a myth. Later, as the storm settled, Kayla lowered the pod to rest on a dead carrier's deck. Elias stood beside her, breathing deep. "You did it," he said. She smiled. "No, we did." He looked around the graveyard. From ashes we built a signal. From lies we gave them history. "And now?" she asked. He looked to the stars. "Now we give them a future. The myth that changed the galaxy a day passed. Then, 2. The galaxy trembled with confusion. Every major system had received the broadcast from the Black Cradle, a long-lost video of unity between humans and aliens, especially the Xelans, ancient friends, not ancient monsters. Kayla sat on the hull of the old warship, the stars stretching out above her. Her small pod was quiet behind her. Beside her stood Elias Stone, the last known human, wrapped in a borrowed Xelon cloak. Ships didn't fire anymore. They circled above in silence, watching, scanning. Unsure, some believed, others demanded proof. One Xelon cruiser even requested to land, just to see him with their own eyes. Elias had become the galaxy's most dangerous truth. Inside the pod, Kayla replayed the incoming message. "You've broken the veil of myth. The Council demands your surrender or your silence." Elias listened with arms crossed. "They want me to disappear again," he said. Kayla turned to him. "So nothing changes. They want fear over truth." He shook his head. "No, not this time." She narrowed her eyes. "Then we show them what humans do when cornered." An hour later, they powered up the remains of the ancient human flagship buried in the Black Cradle, the UNSC Valor. The ship had lost its guns, its shields, its strength, but not its voice. Kayla linked the old human systems to her pod's signal beacon. "What are you doing?" Elias asked. She smiled. "Sending an invitation." "To who?" "To everyone." Soon the skies above the Black Cradle turned into a glowing theater of ships. Xelon, Varn, Coral. Even species that had once fled from the human's name were now orbiting, curious, waiting. Kayla took the bridge of the old ship with Elias at her side. The bridge was cold and cracked, but when the systems lit up, they both stood taller. "This was your world once," she said softly. "Maybe it can be again." Elias faced the cameras. The same systems that once gave orders for war now opened channels across the stars. He began to speak. "I was born a human soldier, but I woke up as a myth. Your myths said we were monsters. Your leaders buried our history, but we were never just destroyers. We were builders too. Explorers. Allies." He looked at Kayla, then back at the screen. She believed in what no one else did. That humans once walked beside you, not above you. Kayla stepped forward beside him. "And I saw with my own eyes kindness, courage, and in something my world forgot long ago, hope." Elias raised a small charred metal tag, the symbol of the old human fleet. "We are not ghosts," he said. "We are the beginning of a story the galaxy tried to erase. But you can't kill the truth, and you can't kill the will to return." He paused. "And if there's only one human left, then I promise this. I'll carry our name with honor, not as a legend, but as a friend." The message traveled like fire across the stars. Some cheered, others protested, but no one could unsee the truth anymore. A week later, the Xelon Queen's personal ship arrived. She stepped out onto the ruined bridge of the Valor, tall, elegant, powerful. Her guard watched closely, but she walked alone to Elias. Silence fell. She studied him with cold eyes. "So, the last human," she said. Elias bowed slightly. Elias Stone. She circled him slowly. You should not exist. But I do. And now your face is on every world. I didn't want fame, he said. I wanted answers. The Queen paused. You brought shame to our history, but also a mirror. She turned to Kayla. You betrayed your people. Kayla stood, tall. No. I reminded them who they were. Silence again. Then the Queen did the unthinkable. She removed her war medallion, walked forward, and offered it to Elias. For the truth, she said. Elias accepted it. The galaxy changed that moment, not with fire, but with a handshake. Later, as Kayla and Elias walked the silent hall of the ship, she asked, What now? He smiled. Rebuild. Earth? Gone, he said. But humanity still breathes. She smiled back. Maybe the myth was never about destruction. He looked at her. Maybe it was always about second chances.